Hello, friends, and welcome back to r/ProRevenge. In the first story, our OP was fired, but his replacement could not be found for a very long time. But before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you're new here, and turn on notifications so you don't miss a new video every single day. Here we go. So they fired me. About 2 years ago, I was working a government contract. The duties I was asked to perform were extremely specific and explicit. I knew exactly what I needed to do. It was basically source code maintenance, but every job had a list of tests and other requirements that needed to be checked before you handed in your work. I'd do all the things I needed to for one job and turn it in. My supervisor would say, "Hey, this is great work, but this took longer than I would have expected. See if you can get the next one done faster." So I would get into work a little sooner, take a shorter lunch, and stay a little later. It's flexible hours. You work as long as you want, under 40 hours a week, and get paid for whatever you did. I'd try to work faster too. So when my next job gets done sooner than before, my supervisor's happy, but wants me to know what's up with the increase in hours. Well, I had to do the same amount of work in a shorter time, so I put in more hours. Unhappy that he's paying me more for doing more work faster, he says, "You could work a lot quicker if you don't spend so much time on all the little stuff. Just do the important things and let the small stuff slide." So I asked him to name which of the things on the list he gave me I should skip. He couldn't give me an answer. I asked, would I be responsible if work that I completed failed because I didn't check the small stuff? He said yes, and I would lose my security clearance and ability to work for this department of the government. Oh, yes, I would. So I said, then I have no choice but to keep giving you my best, do I? A week after another round of this, I was fired with no explanation and no information about if I could work there again. I still want to work there again because it was fun and important work. I enjoyed what I was doing. I shared a little office with 3 nice people my age. I had a cactus on my desk. It was a little home. At least I have the satisfaction of seeing them recruit on my college campus and keep posting the same hiring ad for the last 2 years, seemingly without success. I think they should have kept me. It was an odd skill set they needed. One I happen to have. Anyway, I guess I could have kept the job if I was willing to gamble my reputation and eligibility for government work, but it didn't seem worth it. I'll let them cut corners and I'll find another job, maybe something safety critical. I bet they won't let me cut corners. Find work in nuclear. Believe me, if anyone even suggests that you cut corners on something, there are about a dozen people in every plant or manufacturing facility, plus another dozen at the NRC that you not only can call, but are required to call and report it. Safety isn't just number 1 in nuclear, it's number 2, number 3, and number 4 as well. And our next story, how my dad got his bread back. Okay, so this is something that happened to my father back when I was in high school. AD equals awesome dad, SJ equals stealing jerk. For a little backstory, AD was the founder and owner of a small mom-and-pop style restaurant that was very successful despite only being open for 2 years. The place was almost always packed, and it was especially popular with the local biker scene. This is important later. Anyways, AD had a certain delivery system in place with the bakery that supplied the restaurant with bread. On the day of the shipment, the delivery guy would come in early in the morning, about an hour before the place opened, and place the boxes outside the back door of the building. The opening staff would come out later and bring the boxes inside. Now, one day during a rush, AD noticed that they were starting to run a little low on bread in the storage room and asked his head chef what's going on. He tells AD they'd never received the shipment of bread on the day it was supposed to be there, and he just assumed it was running late and AD would handle it. So AD did. He called up the company and asked what was going on. They said they had indeed delivered the bread. It's also worth mentioning that AD had a bunch of security cameras set up around the place to record everything that was going on, so he checks the footage from the day of the delivery. AD finds that the company wasn't lying when they said they had indeed delivered the bread, as the footage clearly showed the truck pulling up and the delivery guy dropping off the bread. But roughly 15 minutes after the drop-off, a big red pickup truck pulls up behind the restaurant. A man gets out and puts all of the boxes of bread into the back of his pickup truck. No, it was an insane amount of bread for just one person, and drives off. Now AD is straight up mad, steam pouring out of his ears, the whole 9 yards. He files a police report, but because the camera was angled in such a way he wasn't able to pick up the license plate, there wasn't much he could do. So AD posts a frame of the video on Facebook asking anyone and everyone if they know who SJ is. About 3 days later, he gets a response from one of SJ's coworkers who's more than happy to turn over everything AD would need to know about SJ, where he lives, where he works, and his phone number to be precise. Here's where the revenge starts. AD decided to give SJ a call and gives him 3 options. Return the bread now, no questions asked, and AD would let this whole thing go. AD would give SJ's name to the police, who would head over and arrest him for theft. AD would get some of his biker buddies together, come over to SJ's house, and make him return the bread. After a few moments of silence, SJ hangs up on AD. Naturally, AD picked option 3 and started talking to his biker friends. Now, let it be known that these are old-school Hell's Angels-style bikers, really down-to-earth tough guys with leather jackets, big old beards, tattoos. I mean, these guys looked terrifying and were happy to help out. Not to mention AD was a pretty big dude on his own, too. So AD and the bikers roll up on their Harley motorcycles right in front of SJ's house, trying to be as loud as possible to let SJ know they were there. Then AD marches up to the door and just starts pounding away at it, yelling and screaming about getting his bread back while making threats. But there's no response. Probably because SJ was too busy messing his pants. AD and his friends wait around for a while before they decide to head out. AD isn't stupid, as he knows storming the place would only make things worse, but he didn't need to. At the very next day, he gets a call from the barber shop down the street saying that some guy, SJ, had dropped off all the stolen bread with instructions for the barbers to turn it over to AD's restaurant. That's right, the guy was too much of a coward to even return the bread in person. To make a long story short, AD got all his bread back and SJ learned a very valuable life lesson. Don't steal bread, especially from a guy who knows a biker gang. And our last story. A tale of revenge on a nasty supervisor, U.S. Air Force edition. This happened in the mid-'80s while I was active duty Air Force. I was a sergeant, E4. My direct supervisor was a tech sergeant, E6. This tech sergeant, Rob, not his real name, was a real jerk. He was about 5'10" and a beanpole. He lived on coffee and cigarettes and thinking of ways to bully subordinates. Well, in addition to being a jerk, Rob had a very nasty sense of humor. He could dish it out, but he couldn't take it. We had these old metal desks with plexiglass covering the tops. He started in on me with super gluing my coffee cup to the plexiglass top. Needless to say, when I went to pick up the cup, everything went everywhere. Of course, the whole office laughed hysterically. I didn't blame them. Nobody wanted to be Rob's target. Next, he moved my car to another parking lot. Right before I called the security police, he told me where my car was. He kept it up. Not just me either, but the whole office, till one day he went too far. We just got a new captain assigned to our branch. He was a nice man, quiet, kind, and earned all of our respect. He heard about all the crap Rob pulled and witnessed a few of the milder pranks. Then Rob got nastier. I went out to the parking lot at the end of the day, and my car, little Civic, was up on blocks. I almost had a stroke. Rob went too far. Granted, the captain made Rob put my tires back on and read him the riot act. Back in the 80s, the atmosphere was much more relaxed. You could get away with more. The captain and I decided that I should get my revenge. My revenge had to be carefully thought out, and I had to cover my butt as Rob could destroy my career. First, the captain changed my reporting official, supervisor, to himself. This was to prevent Rob from writing me a horrible or mediocre Airman Performance Report, APR. The timing was important as Rob had just written my annual report, so the change in reporting official wouldn't trigger another APR. Then I went to the base hospital and got a few letterheads from a friend in the Environmental Health Office. The Environmental Health Office was the office that handled all the reports of STIs and did all the mandatory interviews. I had to swear on my unborn children's heads that this wouldn't get back to them. The captain and I went to work on a letter scheduling a date for Rob to be interviewed as a confirmed contact of someone that was positive with an STI. This was going to hit Rob hard. You see, he thought the world of himself, and according to him, he was his wife's master, and he ruled the house and his kids. He never had any other woman but his wife, who, according to him, worshipped the ground he walked on. Also, she wouldn't even leave the house to buy groceries without letting him know, asking permission. I sort of believed him on that one, as she called the office several times a day. Well, the letter was written and placed in the afternoon distribution. The captain made sure he was standing right next to Rob when he opened his official mail. Rob was a creature of habit and always stood right by his distribution tray to read his mail, coffee in cup, cigarette in hand. I was sitting at my desk watching. I swear Rob turned white and I could hear him say something to the captain. I could see the captain reading the letter Rob handed him, so I moved a bit closer, not a huge office, and heard the captain say, "Well, Rob, have you been horsing around?" Rob, of course, was denying this. Like, really, who would touch him? Yuck. And kept saying, "I can't believe this." It wasn't until a few minutes later, when Rob went to grab the phone to call his wife, that the captain said, "Wait, Rob." He, the captain, looked at me and said, "Do you think this is enough?" The captain and I both busted out laughing. Everyone in the office was looking around confused and asking what was so funny. Neither the captain or I would tell anyone what was going on. Rob knocked over the distribution boxes, threw his car key, and started having a fit. The captain stopped Rob's fit and basically told him, quietly, that he deserved what he got and ordered Rob to stop with the pranks. Thank God I'd thought about changing my reporting official because Rob would have roasted me. Not much later, I volunteered for an overseas assignment. It seemed like the prudent thing to do. My revenge did get around eventually, within the upper ranks. It seemed to be a consensus that Rob got what he deserved. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.